Have you ever thought about the invisible architecture that, basically runs our world? I'm not talking about buildings or bridges. I'm talking about the huge, complex systems that manage all of our data. To really get it, we need to look at two worlds that seem completely different. So first, picture a massive hospital. It's got to track every single diagnosis, every treatment, every patient's journey. How on earth does it make sense of all that information to figure out, say, who's going to show up in the emergency room or to make sure someone gets the right care at the perfect time? And now, flip that on its head and think about a casino. It's also tracking millions of data points, everything from how you use a loyalty app to checking if someone's at risk of insolvency. It's all about managing risk and creating this super tailored experience. I know, these two places seem like they're on different planets, but they actually share a secret foundational element. And that secret element is what we're calling the data blueprint. You can think of it just like the blueprint for a skyscraper. It's the master plan that decides whether the whole thing stands strong or, comes crashing down. This blueprint, it dictates everything. It's the roadmap for how data gets collected and stored, and it's the engine for how that data gets turned into actual decisions. It is the one thing that separates organized, actionable insight from just a chaotic mess of raw information. So every good blueprint has to start with a foundation. For data, that means we have to ask a pretty simple question. Where is all this information actually going to live? And really, it comes down to two main models. On one side, you have what's called on-premise infrastructure. Think of an organization like the UK's NHS maintaining its own super secure data centers. This gives them total control over sensitive patient data, but man, it comes with some high upfront costs. Then, on the other side, you've got the cloud-native approach, using services like AWS or Azure. This gives you incredible flexibility, and you just pay for what you use, but it does mean you're handing over some of that direct control. And of course, there's a middle ground, right? The hybrid model, which tries to get the two sides to shake hands. A modern casino might do this, keeping all the really sensitive financial data safe and sound on-premise while using the cloud's flexibility for its customer apps. The trick is getting those two systems to talk to each other. Okay, so we've poured the foundation, but a foundation by itself is pretty useless. The entire point of this whole blueprint is to build something powerful right on top of it. It's really about putting all that data to work. And this is where it gets really interesting. Back in that hospital, data is used to analyze the flow of patients through the emergency department, spotting bottlenecks so people can get admitted or sent home faster. The casino, it's tracking engagement on its loyalty app to figure out which rewards actually make people want to come back. A big retailer is using it to analyze sales data so it can set the daily price of gas across its entire network. And what you see here, what's so important, is that data isn't just locked away in some data team's basement. I mean, look at this. Sales is using CRM data. Marketing is tracking campaigns. Operations is making the supply chain run smoother. It's not a department. It's the central nervous system of the entire organization. But with all of this power comes a ton of responsibility. A blueprint isn't just about what you can build. It's also about what you shouldn't. It's got to have rules. Rules for quality, for safety, and most importantly, for ethics. Okay, on the technical side, a really key idea is something called data normalization. This is basically a set of rules for organizing data to stop it from being duplicated and to keep everything clean and consistent. Think of it as making sure a patient's address only exists in one single correct place instead of being copied, maybe imperfectly, across 20 different spreadsheets. But now, get this. This is what's so fascinating. This is a quote from a data professional at the NHS. And they say that for their data warehouse, the place they use for analysis, they intentionally break the rules. They denormalize the data, which creates a bit of that redundancy we just talked about, but it makes reports run way, way faster. See, sometimes knowing the rules means knowing exactly when to break them for a very specific reason. But here's the thing. All those technical rules we just talked about, they're super important. But honestly, they mean nothing compared to the rules designed to protect people and their personal information. The NHS, for instance, operates under something called the Caldicott principles. And these aren't just suggestions, they are strict professional duties. Rules like justify the purpose for using patient data and don't use identifiable information unless you absolutely have to are baked into their blueprint. It's all about making sure patient confidentiality is always number one. And this isn't just a healthcare thing. A data pro and a financial services firm points out that they are legally blocked from even seeing certain types of data. These are called information barriers, and they're built right into their data blueprint to stop things like insider trading and make sure the market stays fair for everyone. Of course, designing a blueprint this complex is one thing. actually building it and then keeping it running, well, that's a whole other challenge. Data engineers are right there on the front lines, and they're facing a constant stream of problems. You've got data silos, where really important information is just trapped inside one department. You're fighting this constant battle with data quality because, garbage in, garbage out. Cloud costs can absolutely spiral out of control if you're not paying attention. And behind it all is the never-ending job of protecting the entire system from security threats. Which brings us to one last really big question. These blueprints, the ones that guide a patient's care in a hospital or ensure fairness in a casino, they aren't just internal documents anymore. They are literally the invisible architecture of our society. So, as these blueprints get more and more powerful, who is ultimately responsible for making sure they are built safely, ethically, and for the benefit of everyone? That's the real blueprint we all need to be thinking about.